These are the stories
My little girl, she's changing lives just by being herself.
of organizations and people making a difference.
When you first tell someone about adaptive wheelchair boxing, it doesn't sound real.
And empowering others
It saved my life. It saved my life.
across Canada
I scored my first goal in my first blind hockey game.
in our community.
Professional wrestling is a show for the audience, and it's a mixture of theater as well as sport. So there is a script to an extent. My name is Justin Marriott. I'm a professional wrestler. I am the second deaf pro wrestler in Canada and the first pro deaf wrestler in the Maritimes.
Justin started training at Kaizen Pro Wrestling a year and a half ago.
I'm Covey Steele, and I am the head trainer of the Kaizen Pro Wrestling training facility and the owner of Kaizen Pro Wrestling. Kaizen Pro Wrestling is the shows that take place at Alderney Landing Theatre predominantly, which is in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. That is the artistic expression that we're presenting to people. It's very similar to like going to see a live band perform, where the academy is kind of like the jam space for a band. It's where people practice, gain new skills, and can learn how to perform those in front of people in the future. Professional wrestling is the artistic expression of other athletic endeavors. And so it is a form of theater fighting. It is every bit as difficult as being a jazz musician or an improv a comedian, jammed into the same thing with high-level acrobatics. And so it is a amalgamation of some of the hardest art forms pushed into each other.
My name is Mia Malik, and I am the Lebanese luchadora here at Kaizen Academy. Kaizen Academy is the place to go because of how diverse and supportive and inclusive they are. I actually went to a different school before, and they told me not to be my authentic self. They didn't want me to be Arabic. They didn't want me to speak Arabic. They didn't want me to wear a mask. And so when I came to Kaizen, my coach, Kobe Christ, said, no, you have to be all those things. We want you to be yourself. And so that was a really positive thing for me. Such a positive atmosphere. There's real friendships here. And that's why when I heard that a deaf student was coming here, I was so happy because I knew it would be the right school for Justin, and I had zero doubts that my coach wouldn't be able to coach him. And I was right because Justin's doing amazing, and I think everyone is so supportive of him.
Justin reads lips and uses sign language to communicate. Today, Justin prepares for his 5th pro wrestling match. He works closely with Kaizen wrestlers to perfect the moves that he will perform as the persona Deaf Power.
My childhood dream was to become a wrestler. It started when I was 3, and it was something that I've always wanted to do. But there were so many barriers that I had to face that it made me lose complete faith in the dream. When I graduated high school and asked a counselor about the potential of becoming a pro wrestler, and the counselor had contacted a wrestling school, and they said, no, it wouldn't be possible because it's dangerous. And there's a risk because I wouldn't be able to communicate with the other wrestlers. So that destroyed my hope there. During my life, I've attempted suicide 3 times. I didn't have the easiest upbringing. In the 3rd attempt, I met a counselor, and the counselor asked me what I wanted to do with my life. And I never had the opportunity to try wrestling. And I said, you know what? I would like to try it and see what happens. And then I met Covey, and everything changed from there. So pro wrestling really did save my life. I get up every day because of wrestling.
When Justin first came to one of our shows to interact and communicate with me what his desires were to train. Obviously there's hesitation and like trepidation, not sure how I would be able to do that for him, not if he was able to do it, but how I would be able to facilitate that.
Covey did some research and got some information. He spoke with people in the States who had experience training deaf wrestlers. And he said, you know what? Let's give it a try. I can't promise anything, but I'm willing to try with you. That's when I got excited again, and I was eager to learn and to be a good student.
It's the first deaf wrestler that I've ever had to work with, and I don't know why anybody would have told me no before. He's an athletic, capable, intelligent young man. I'm extremely blessed that he is patient with me because I talk a lot, and thankfully he's very good at lip reading and can pick up most of what I'm saying. I learned to slow down my speech and be a little bit more animated with my mouth so that he could understand things better, because I'm not good at sign language yet, and like, he is incredibly patient with me, and it has allowed me to be a better trainer for him.
When I first met the wrestlers, it was a lot of body language and gesturing. And if that didn't work, then we resorted to written communication on the phone or paper. Over time, some of them have picked up some sign language, and I get more used to them. Therefore, lip reading is much easier for me, and they get used to my voice, so it's easier for them. It was a struggle at first, though. It was definitely a struggle at first. We persevered, and things worked out.
Our Community will return after the break. We now return to Our Community.
Hailing from Timberlake, Nova Scotia, weighing at 260 pounds, representing the Deaf Power. He is the first Deaf Maritime wrestler making his Kaizen debut. Let's give him a round of applause. Justin Marriott.
Justin made his official pro wrestling debut as Deaf Power in January 2024. As he watches the footage of his debut match, memories flood back of stepping into the ring for the first time, wearing black shorts and a sleek black singlet, adorned with a graphic of a closed fist in the air, symbolizing Deaf Power in sign language.
My aunt made my costume. She made everything for free to support me, and I'm extremely grateful for that. There's my mom. Honestly, that day had a lot of mixed emotions. I was extremely nervous. It was my first time in the ring. I was shaking, I was pacing, and Sebi helped calm me down a lot.
My name is Sebi. I am a pro wrestler here at Kaizen Pro Wrestling.
I was the first match as the good guy to his bad guy. It was a lot of pressure on both of us. When I point to my ears, it started as a joke, as in, I can't hear you, so you gotta show me that you're cheering. Everybody starts off as a babyface team. We're the good guys. Half the school is good and half the school is bad in order to progress the storylines and keep things balanced. It's similar if you think about comic books. So Marvel, if you have a good guy, you need to have a bad guy.
Sebi may be the bad guy in the ring, but away from the spotlight, he's a supportive ally who went out of his way to ensure the introduction of Deaf Power was a triumph.
When we had our match, there was a lot of practice that was involved with it, because there was a bit of a difficulty, because like normally within wrestling, there is a bit of like communication that has to happen. For that, we had everything written out ahead of time. We practiced it. There was a lot of use of like body language when we were training for that specific match. Even just in training in general, there's a lot of body language that we use, like we lock up, we take a head. I also do all the media stuff for Kaizen, and so I was trying to think of a way to like have some kind of visual cue for him to come out. And because like he can't hear, I was thinking like a simple white flash on the screen, that's his cue. That white flash is all we need to get him to come out. Because we have a specific order that we come out, of course. And then when his music hits, you can just watch like the screen to see when exactly he has to go. It gives him a bit more independence when it comes to like coming out to his music.
And it makes it look way cooler when you're on time. I'm very thankful to Sebi for that.
While watching his first match, Justin reflects on how every member of the Kaizen team, down to the referee, made sure he had all the support he needed.
That's Ken, the referee. He came up to me a couple of months before the first match to ask if he could pick up a couple of signs so that he could communicate better with me in the ring. He put in a lot of effort. And you can see here, he even signs. Are you ready? The point was to get the crowd to boo and build the moment for me. And then he was planning to bring the heat. He wouldn't get back in the ring, so I called him a chicken. Our characters, we develop a mimic for the character, similar to the movies. When we show up to a match, we're getting into character. So for me, Death Power is the tough guy, and he fights tough. But at the same time, he also wants to help people and make friends. And of course, he likes to fight clean and fair. He's competitive, he wants to win, he wants to be the champion, he wants to achieve all of his goals in being the best deaf wrestler in the world.
Safety is a priority in pro wrestling. When Justin was learning a move called running big splash in turnbuckle, where he runs full speed at his opponent, he practiced a lot so he could safely execute the move.
When I was learning this move here, I was nervous because I thought, I'm going to get squished. And Covey said, you're going to be fine. You can do it. And I thought, but what if I hurt someone? He said, you're not going to hurt anyone. It's okay. Covey always makes sure that I have a strong understanding of what I'm doing before we go and try something so that we avoid accidentally hurting each other. He's tapping my arm there. That was a cue for me to get up. And then the body language communication tells me I'm supposed to go to the corner.
A lot of our interactions in a ring are what's called calling on the fly. And so if I am in a match with somebody and I need them to go somewhere, I will tell them, corner stay. And so I'll send them to the corner and they know to stay there. With Justin, I don't have that luxury. And so a lot of it had to be a little like squeeze, which is informing them what I need to happen. And so if it's a squeezy, that means you're probably going to counter this. If it's a hard squeeze, it means I'm probably going to hit you. And so there's just ways that he can non-verbally communicate. Wrestling at the highest level is a lot of non-verbal communications where you can read what I'm doing and how I'm approaching it and know what's coming next. And so he's gotten very good at how to read body languages for how we're going to move into the next thing.
And communicating with Ken, because Ken was like, well, how are you going to know when I'm counting if you're down? And I said, well, if you count slow, then I'll be able to feel it when you hit because the whole ring moves. I remember Sebi had said after the match that one person in the audience was screaming at the ref, Are you deaf and blind? What is going on? Which I thought was pretty funny. At the end of my first match, the audience was all silently clapping in respect to deaf culture. So they had their hands waving, and that was incredible to see, the respect for deaf culture and the knowledge of deaf culture. It was so inspiring when I looked around.
At first, we thought that the crowd died down, and so I was concerned because, they're not reacting. No, they're quiet because they're cheering in ASL. With the communication gap, there was a lot of work that we had to do to get him off the ground for that match, but it was worth it. I mean, literally after we were done, he came backstage, he hugged me, and I felt him crying in my arms, happy cry. It was a moment.
Our community will return after the break. We now return to our community. Back at the training facility, Kaizen Pro wrestlers push themselves and each other to master skills. Today, Justin hones his moves with one of Kaizen's most experienced wrestlers, Bobby Boyette.
You're training your body to get used to the different movements and the soreness that comes with it. It's pretty hard on the body. The first month, it was a struggle to get out of bed. I was very sore. It's a lot of work falling and getting up. So you start slow, and then once you feel like you can take more, then you start adding onto your training. Some people train twice a week, some people train 4 times a week. It all depends on your schedule and your desires.
Kaizen means always improving. So here at Kaizen, our coach makes sure that we always improve, and he does not let us stay stagnant. And so it's really good for us because we have to keep pushing and trying.
It's the most beautiful art form. It is so difficult and beautiful, and it's why I lose my mind when I see people do stuff well in a wrestling ring, because it's so hard. For Justin, for him to already have limitations when he came into wrestling and to accomplish what he was doing in a ring, that's goosebumps when I watch him work. And so that's really cool to see a young guy be able to do those things. I'm blessed for Justin because he has helped me become a better trainer. He's just a nice, kind, loving person in here. So I'm very fortunate that he showed up here and that he's as easy a student as he is.
Covey becomes visibly emotional when he talks about his wishes for the pro wrestlers he's trained.
My number one hope would be that they love wrestling and they love their time, that they're not beat down by wrestling, that they don't get as defeated in their path in wrestling. If they make it anywhere, that's really cool. But it's just so that they're happy and they feel like every bump that they had a meaning. That's my hope.
I want more recognition so people can see my identity, can see my culture, can see my language, have that exposure. And in regard to the deaf community, I want to show that the deaf community exists and we can do absolutely anything a hearing person can do except hear. I'd like that recognition. And to help improve accessibility and reduce some struggles that go along with accessibility for us. Improve access for everybody, including people like me. In the future, I'm hoping to have more opportunities to work across the world, meet new people, have some fun, wrestle, and influence people to believe in themselves and to believe that they can achieve anything their hearts desire. Everyone who's involved with Kaizen loves pro wrestling, grew up with wrestling. We're all supportive of each other. We encourage each other to learn. If we make mistakes, that's okay, because we're supporting each other and we're all learning together. That's really the big thing, would be the support for one another. We've really just created a pro wrestling family. We take care of each other.
Producer, Rachel Bauer. Director, Rachel Bauer. Writers, Walter Forsyth, Rachel Bauer. Post-production, Brendan Wilson. Camera, Kaizen Pro Wrestling Media, Scott Barrington. Sign language interpreters, May Streitman, Mautaz Ayash, Ken Parsons, Paula Coggins. Special thanks, everyone at Kaizen Pro Wrestling, Cannonball Justine Ward, Bobby Boyette, Ryan Schimmel, Jason Baxter. NL Association for the Deaf. Narrator, Mark Phoenix. Graphics, Andrew Antonello. Integrated Described Video Consultant, Ron Rickford. Supervising Producer, Jennifer Johnson. Content Development Specialist, Karen McGee. Director, Programming, Lisanne Gagne. Director, Content Development and Production, Kara Nye. Vice President, Content Development and Operations, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.